Mindanao, and this is my micro teaching about classroom assessment. But before we start, let me introduce to you the following goals and objectives for this particular topic. First is describe the characteristics of an effective alternative assessment, to be able to explain the components of assessment cycle, to be able to define what is validity, reliability, practicality, and fairness, to be able to develop an effective grading system, and apply an assessment's principle to diverse classroom scenarios. So, good morning class. So now I'll be discussing about alternative assessment. So alternative assessment has been proposed by many critics of traditional assessment, under gaining so much attention among teachers and students nowadays. So when we talk about alternative assessment, it is any type of assessment in which students respond to a particular question or task, and it uses different kinds of activities that reveals what student can do about their skills, their abilities, emphasizing their strength instead of their weaknesses. So it can be classified as either formative or summative informal assessment created by the teachers. So the main goals and objectives of alternative assessment is to gather evidence about how students approaching, processing, completing a real-life task in a particular domain. There are also most common type of alternative assessment, and one of those is the performance assessment. So performance assessment requires you to use your knowledge and skills to complete a task or procedure, a product, in a more or less realistic context. Like for example, in science class, the student may demonstrate their learning through conducting or reporting results from their experiments. So another example is an athletic students, they may demonstrate their learning by performing drills or any activities that about the subject. So another alternative assessment, or the most common alternative assessment, is the portfolio assessment. It is a systematic collection of students' work over an extended period that typically includes self-reflections on learning. Like for example, journals, visual presentations, or any other work that the teachers believe demonstrates students' knowledge, skills, and achievement. So under this, we also have two basic types of portfolio assessment, and that are the process portfolios, which provide a wide range representation of students' work over time that demonstrates their progress in the area being taught. Another is we have the best work portfolios, include samples that represent students' highest performance level. So if we have most common types of alternative assessment, we also have less common types. They are an exhibition which requires students to display their learning products to an audience, and of course the journals, which is helpful alternative assessment when teachers need to gain a deeper understanding of students' thought process and beliefs. So effective assessment should be valid, reliable, practical, and fair. Effective portfolio assessment, it should establish the purpose of the portfolio ahead of time. Second, establish the consumer of the portfolio. Third is establish what type of evidence will be collected ahead of time, and the procedure for selecting evidence to be included in the portfolio. And lastly, establish the evaluation criteria ahead of time. So in performance assessment, when making it effective, it should be clearly defined the type of performance that will be assessed and the scoring criteria, like using scoring rubric for a grade. So now let's discuss about classroom assessment and its 4 stages cycle. We have the planning, the administering, evaluation, and communication. So in planning, it focuses on finding answers to the question, how should I assess, what should I assess, and when should I assess? So the second step in assessment cycle consists of administering your assessment in a way that ensures that the results will reflect what students know or able to do. So experts suggest that the following. First is create a comfortable and organized environment, and then keep the assessment environment as similar as possible to the learning environment, and then monitor your students as they are being assessed. Give precise before and during your assessment. So in evaluation, teachers evaluate students' learning by scoring assessments based on answer keys, rubrics, performance skills, or checklists. And the last is we have the communication. So communication, it is basically the outcome of classroom assessment that may be communicated to the students, to the parents, and even to the administrators. So why is it important to have a grading system? So grading is basically the process of taking the combination of assessments used in the classroom. So it is important because it translates students' performance and the results into a scale that has evaluative meaning and reporting the results into or in a formal way. So grading happens during the evaluating and revising stage of the assessment cycle, and it is followed by the communicating meaningful information about students' learning and achievement to relevant parties such as in students, in parents, and administrators during the communication stage of the assessment cycle. So grades serve for the three following purposes. First is we have administrative. Administrative means helping determine students' ranking in the class, credits for graduation, and promotion to the next grade. Second is we have the informational. Informational, it means the communicating to students and parents the teacher's overall conclusions about how well the students met instructional objectives and suggesting directions for future learning. And lastly, we have the motivational. It promotes students' effort by extrinsically rewarding achievement. So teachers have choices when it comes to deciding on a grading system for their classrooms. So they can use the criterion reference assessment and the norm reference assessment. So criterion reference assessment measures students' performance relative to predetermined criteria or standards, while the norm reference assessments compare students' performance to that of their peers or a group of age mates across the nation. So once you have made a decision about the type of assessment you will use in your classroom, you need to decide the weight that each one will have in your grading system. So we can use the point grading system. These are those in which each classroom's assessment is assigned a certain maximum number of possible points depending on its relative importance. Alternatively, a teacher may decide on a percentage grading system where each classroom's assessment is assigned a certain number of maximum possible points on a 100-point grading system, and then final grades are calculated by averaging the percentages of all assessments. So the difference among individual students and group differences will affect how well students respond to different assessment types. So in this section, we discuss some sources of diversity in classroom assessment. Teachers' assessment practices are varied. Elementary teachers tend to place more emphasis on assessing effective objectives and rely more on informal assessments and commercially paid assessments than secondary teachers. When planning classroom assessment, teachers should be familiar with students' IEP or the Individualized Educational Program, considering multiple kinds of measures of students' learning and ensure that assessments are aligned with instructional objectives and activities rather than the students' assessment preferences. So that is all for today. So I hope you've now got an idea about classroom assessment. So next meeting I might give you a quiz about this lesson, and if you want further information, just read Educational Psychology by Roxana Moreno, which is my source, and please study in advance chapter 13 for our next discussion. So thank you, and you may now go.